Morning. How's everyone doing? My name is Cecilia Cheeks. I am with National Faith in Blue Weekend. I'm Managing Director. I'm also Chief Communications and Strategic Partnerships Officer for Movement Forward. Glad to be with you today. Again, thank you for your time this morning. We will get right to it. I would like to introduce and ask for a few remarks from Executive Director Sandy Horton with the Kansas Sheriff Association. Executive Director Horton, are you on the line? I saw your name. Maybe you're not able to speak.
I think he's trying to unmute himself.
Probably.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not able to pull up my screen, but I'm online. Something's wrong on my end, though.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you for hosting this meeting for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you again for your leadership. And we have also with us and leading the call today, a CEO of President and CEO of Movement Forward, as well as national lead for National Faith and Blue Weekend, 20-plus year human and civil rights leader, Reverend Markel Hutchins. Reverend Hutchins?
Thank you very much, Ms. Cheeks, and thank you to you, Mr. Horton, and to all of the sheriffs there in Kansas for joining us today. I want to kind of give you a little bit of a background, and we'll be timely with the sheriff's schedule. I know all of you are busy, but we thank you for joining this conversation about National Faith and Blue Weekend. We started an initiative based in Georgia several years ago called One Congregation, One Precinct. And the whole idea is to leverage the assets of the faith-based community, so churches, synagogues, mosques, and temples, to build bridges between law enforcement and the people that you protect and serve, utilizing faith-based organizations to be goodwill ambassadors. And that's what that's what National the One Cop Initiative is all about, and that's what National Faith and Blue Weekend is all about. So we got a call about a year and a half ago from the U.S. Department of Justice when they found out what we were doing with the One Cop program, taking this collaborative approach of utilizing law enforcement and faith communities to build bridges together with the community at large. The Department of Justice asked us to expand that program across the country. And so we started thinking about ways to expand this model of utilizing faith-based organizations in local neighborhoods to be bridge builders between citizens and the law enforcement professionals that patrol and protect and serve those communities. So in April, shortly after or shortly before the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, the Department of Justice and I convened a meeting of the heads of all of the national law enforcement associations, the National Sheriff's Association, ICP, the National Association of Women Law Enforcement Executives, Noble, the Police Foundation, FOP, all of the police unions. All of us came together and came up with this concept of utilizing the faith community to really change the narrative in America and to build bridges between law enforcement and citizens in this moment of great division. And that's how National Faith and Blue Weekend was born. So all of the national law enforcement associations came together and decided that we would all work together on one single project that's a police community engagement project called National Faith and Blue Weekend. The dates of the weekend are Friday, October 9th, Saturday, October 10th, Sunday, October 11th, and Monday, October 12th. And it is at the conclusion of National Community Police Week in the United States of America. The mission of National Faith and Blue Weekend, as you can see on your screen, is to facilitate safer and stronger communities by engaging law enforcement officers and local residents through the connections of houses of worship. So again, not just churches, but churches, synagogues, mosques, temples, and other faith-based organizations in your local communities. There's nothing inherently religious about National Faith and Blue Weekend, but we simply recognize that the faith community has an unmatched degree of influence in your local communities. So National Faith in Blue Weekend will power a movement nationally where law enforcement professionals and residents build connections that break down divides, decrease bias, increase familiarity, and spur ongoing collaboration between the community citizens and the men and women that protect and serve those communities as law enforcement officers. So in terms of the what, National Faith in Blue Weekend is a collaborative initiative that builds bridges and breaks down biases through activities and outreach among law enforcement professionals and the communities that you serve and protect. In terms of the why, National Faith in Blue Weekend is based on the premise that strong communities are built on mutual respect and understanding. Law enforcement entities, sheriff's offices, police departments, etc., and faith-based organizations are both key pillars in any local community. And when they work together, neighborhoods thrive. In terms of the how, National Faith in Blue Weekend, as I mentioned earlier, is an extension of the One Congregation, One Precinct, or One Cop initiative, a program of the organization that I lead, which is a charity, Movement Forward, Inc., which is a solutions-focused human and civil rights organization based here in Atlanta, Georgia, which is where our national headquarters is. The One Cop initiative pairs officers and deputies at the beat or precinct level with local houses of worship. Similarly, National Faith in Blue Weekend is facilitated by law enforcement entities, faith-based organizations, and the community at large. In terms of the who, we're very proud of the fact that National Faith in Blue Weekend organizers represent every single major national law enforcement group and every faith tradition in the United States of America. The effort is being, as I mentioned, convened by our One Cop initiative and the Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services at the U.S. Department of Justice, or COPS office, to organize the largest and most collaborative police community engagement project in recent history. A lot of people ask why work through the faith community, why faith-based organizations, and to talk about why we focus on faith-based organizations, I'm going to bring in the national co-chair of National Faith in Blue Weekend, who is Chief Operating Officer of our organization, Jared Foyer, to talk a little bit about why we're focusing on faith-based organizations. Jared?
Thank you very much, Reverend, and thank you everyone for spending some of your Friday with us. When thinking about Faith in Blue Weekend, one important question is why the faith component? And the answer is that there is no community resource that rivals the breadth and the depth of the faith community. As you can see on the slide, and those who can see it, there are over 350,000 houses of worship across the country. And together, they engage 65 million congregants in weekly observance. And you can find these houses of worship in large cities and small towns, in every part of the state, and every part of the state of Kansas. And collectively, they represent the diverse canvas of our home. And so when we were considering how to facilitate connections between law enforcement and the residents that they protect and serve, faith stood out. They are the front door. Faith is the front door through which you engage the community, which directly leads to improvements in public safety and to positive interactions. And more than that, faith also speaks to matters of the hearts. Faith speaks to what really allows us to connect as one person to another. It opens us up and it allows us to see and be part of something bigger. And that is another reason why faith is so important to this initiative. Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you, Jared. And to piggyback on what Jared said, there's a lot of conversation, as all of you sheriffs know, in the country today about the need for police reform and policing reform, et cetera. But the truth is, we have the most highly trained and skilled law enforcement professionals in the United States of America as any time period in history or any country in the world. And so the real need is not just for changes in policies and procedures. We've got to figure out ways for people and law enforcement professionals to get to know each other on a human level, to connect on a human level. And so, Sheriff Presley, when I testified before the President's Commission on Law Enforcement and the Administration of Justice several months ago, I didn't talk about the need for changes in policy and procedure as much as the need for relational reformations. We need to figure out ways in local neighborhoods for the people that live in those neighborhoods to get to know their law enforcement professionals beyond just their badge and their gun and their uniform. And on the flip side of that, we've got to figure out ways for law enforcement professionals that work in these communities to get out of their cars and get into the communities and know the people that they're protecting and serving. That's the only way we're going to see any positive change in America with all that is going on. And the faith community, as Jared said, is the front door through which any of the law enforcement leaders can walk right into a community. It really provides unrivaled access. And that's why we're focusing this effort on the faith community. In terms of the events, we have built around National Faith and Blue Weekend, we have built a best-in-class web portal. And essentially what we did, sheriffs, was we've taken the best of National Night Out, the best of Coffee with a Cop. We've put them in given them a real mission, a real function, and put that in the context of the faith-based community in every local community across the United States of America. And that is the basis of National Faith and Blue Weekend. And so we have built a best-in-class website and web portal, and on that website, people in the communities, law enforcement agencies, and houses of worship can do a number of things. Number one, they can go to faithandblue.org if they're interested in hosting an event. And on the website, visitors can read more about the effort. They can fill out an inquiry form and download a planning toolkit, which is a detailed step-by-step guide that we will preview for you here in just a moment, that shows anyone how they can plan an activity in their local neighborhood. And we've got some great examples and step-by-step instruction for how to do that. Number three, once they have signed up for an event or filled out an inquiry form, a member of the National Faith and Blue staff will reach out to the prospective host of the event and offer support to complete the registration process. Once that is done, the community should be invited, utilizing the tool and resources that we have made available on the website at faithandblue.org. And then the event is held. After those things happen, utilizing the checklist and the toolkit that we've provided on the website. And then after the event, we ask the event organizers, if they're the law enforcement agencies and local communities or the houses of worship, to send us photos and to submit some kind of write-up so we're able to tell the story about what is happening in local communities across Kansas and across Pennsylvania and South Carolina and California and all across the United States of America. Because again, we're building a movement. Just like there have been movements, if you will, that have divided law enforcement and communities, we're building a movement to unite law enforcement and communities, because in fact, there is more that unites us than there is that divides us. And we need to tell that story across the United States of America. So to facilitate these things, again, we have a best-in-class website that has all of these resources to host an event and to sign up for an event. But in terms of the activities, there are a bunch of different examples and sample activities, again, with step-by-step instructions are included in the web portal. And I'm going to bring Jared back in to talk a little bit about some of the sample activities that we have on the website and in the toolkit that your agencies and your communities can choose from. Jared?
Thank you, Reverend. We want Faith and Blue Weekend to be comprised of activities that are creative, engaging, and relevant. And so we have designed actually 21 sample activities that run the gamut from a community service project to a book discussion, to a community conversation, to a picnic, and to events that actually require a little bit less planning, such as just delivering remarks from the police at a upcoming service. But the activities are divided into 4 groupings: fostering dialogue and understanding, promoting peace and safety through arts and culture, creating connections, and cultivating partnerships and engagement. And some activities have a light touch, and others facilitate deeper dialogue. And as I said earlier, 4 activities were created that require less planning, such as delivering greetings or creating a mural or asking an officer. What we're excited about is that all the steps that are necessary to organize these 21 sample activities are laid out in the toolkit. From the planning steps in advance to the steps during the day of the event. And for each activity, there's an in-person, a socially distanced, and a virtual option, which we've considered to be particularly important during this time of COVID. But what's important to understand is that these are not the only activities that can be organized. The only three requirements, core requirements of an event, is that they involve a house of worship, a law enforcement agency, and be open to the public. After that, it's up to the creativity and the individual needs of a community, and you all know your communities best. Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you, Jared. In terms of the toolkit, we've talked a lot about the toolkit, and I want you to know that this toolkit was developed in consultation with the COPS Office of the Department of Justice, the Office of Justice Programs, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, the National Sheriff's Association, major county sheriffs, and all of the rest of the law enforcement entities played a role and had a hand in developing this planning toolkit. You'll see on the right of your screen, there's a graphic. This is the front cover of the toolkit that is available right today at faithandblue.org. It has, again, all of the details that one would need. But the right of your screen you see is a front cover. It's just a picture of the front of the toolkit. But in that toolkit, you'll have, again, planning steps for the sample activities. You'll have a checklist for getting started. There are sample media advisories and answers to frequently asked questions. And again, the toolkit contains social distance, in-person and virtual activities, and all of the other things that you'll need. And those can be found right now at faithandblue.org. Not only do we have the toolkit available, but we also have other resources. If you'll click on the resources tab at faithandblue.org, you'll see the toolkit, but you'll also see a customizable poster that can be utilized, and it has a place in there for you to fill out the name of your agency and the houses of worship you're partnering with. You can input the date, the time, and the place in this poster on the Faith and Blue website right today. And you can put in that information and then circulate those posters and post them in your various houses of worship or wherever it is you want to post those posters. There also is a postcard that can be circulated and mailed out. There's a banner that you can hang up at your events. There are t-shirts that you can customize. So the front of the t-shirt has all of the information about National Faith and Blue Weekend. On the front and on the back, you're welcome to put your agency's logo. The houses of worship can put their logos on the back, so there's branding. But there are other things that are available under the available resources portion of the web portal, and you'll see the graphics and logos and all kinds of things that can be utilized. To walk you through some of the things that are available, I'm going to bring in Cecilia Cheeks, who again is Managing Director of National Faith and Blue Weekend and a communications and marketing expert, to tell you about some of the things and preview some of the things that you should see on your screen right now in terms of the resources that are available for your agencies and your local community members to engage National Faith and Blue Weekend. Ms. Cheeks?
Thank you, Reverend. And I think you gave a really good overview on the functionality and usage of the items. I'll walk through them quickly. To your left is the postcard Reverend mentioned, that is customizable, where you currently see a location located nationwide in a community near you. You would be able to place the specific location and details surrounding your event. And of course, on the back, there's where it says grain and mortar, that's currently placeholder copy, where the address would go to the person and or group of individuals that you are mailing it to. So there's customization in the return address. There will be an opportunity for that return address where it says Faith in Blue currently to reflect your or the wanted return address for the event. We've discussed in detail the planning toolkit. Here it's placed so that you can see the branding, look and feel, the consistency. However, that is the planning toolkit cover page with the t-shirt above it that Reverend also discussed, shared with you. The template is available on the resource tab, from which you would be able to take to either you can take it to a local t-shirt shop, or there will be potentially functionality that you can order directly from the site. and then have customization done on either the sleeves or the back, again, as Reverend indicated. Full opportunity for customization. The poster immediately to the right and the bottom right of the base of the t-shirt also has area where it says hosted by. That would not have any content there. You would put who it's hosted by, and that would be the sheriff's office and the house of worship. And then you've got when and where, and of course that's pretty self-explanatory. To your far right is the one pager, which has been quite popular as it gives an overview of the program. It makes it easier to explain, discuss, and quite frankly, just leave behind for people to read and review on their own. So to Reverend's point, we have a good foundation of communication and marketing materials to help make promoting and hosting an event easier and not as heavy of a lift as it would be without the support of National Faith in Blue Weekend. Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you, Ms. Cheeks. So not only are those resources available, and not only will you be able to go on and host an event, or your houses of worship in your local community will be able to go on and host an event, but we also have functionality that will become available next week for any member of your community to find an event. So any citizen, any house of worship, any law enforcement entity in the United States of America will be able to go to faithandblue.org, search for an event by their nearby address, or they'll be able to see them on a map. So any person in your community that wants to be involved, that wants to attend, they'll be able to search by the address and find the nearest Faith in Blue event close to them. The event details will be on the website. It will include the event location, the participating or hosting organizations, as well as the date, time, and place that those events will occur. There will also be, under the Finding an Event tab, an opportunity for people to share out events. So when they see an event that they like, they'll be able to share it with others and invite the entire community to that event. And there will also be an option under the Finding an Event tab for one to host an event. So if there's not an event near them, they'll be able to go online and find an event. They'll be able to go online and host an event or plan an event if there's not one close to them. One of the things that I mentioned earlier that we're really, really excited about, and that is every single major national law enforcement association and the 3 entities in the federal government that deal most directly with local policing are involved in National Faith in Blue Weekend, as is the largest law enforcement agency in the United States of America, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. So this is not only innovative, but it's also historic. Never before in history have all of the law enforcement associations and professional membership groups come together for a single police community engagement project. And I think that is especially important in this time when there's so much division in our country, and a lot of it relates to law enforcement entities. And so we've got, of course, BJA and the COPS office and the Office of Justice Programs. Many of your agencies have gotten grants and funding from these agencies in the federal government, U.S. Department of Justice. Of course, I mentioned we have the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, but we also have all of the major law enforcement unions, the National Association of Police Organizations, which is all the smaller unions across the country, the Fraternal Order of Police, which is the largest police organization in the country, FOP, we've got ICP, we've got national sheriffs, major county sheriffs, national DAs, the National Narcotics Officers, NOBLE, or the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. We've got the National Police Foundation, we've got PERF. Literally all of the major national law enforcement groups are engaged, and we're very proud that there's no cost to any law enforcement agency, there's no cost to any house of worship. Through the generosity of FirstNet, built with AT&T, the Motorola Solutions Foundation, and BolaWrap, we're able to provide all of these things free of charge to every law enforcement agency and every community. So all of the organizing that's going on nationally, the website, all of these resources, the banners, the design, all of these things were made possible by the corporate sponsors. So there is no request for any sort of contribution or funding or anything like that. We simply want the sheriff's office in Kansas to join with all of the other sheriffs across the country and making sure that these events are a success in your local community. A lot of people ask the question, why now? Well, I think the answer is pretty clear, especially to sheriffs. This is an unprecedented era in the United States of America. Never before have we seen the kind of divisions that we have seen happen. And I don't think that we can wait until another tragedy strikes a local community. And it certainly could happen before we have an opportunity to really make a national movement to draw law enforcement and communities closer. We are not as divided as we are disconnected. We've got to make these connections and really put some positivity on all of the negativity that we've seen across the country when it comes to law enforcement involved matters with communities. Resolution and reconciliation are urgently needed in our country. And what COVID has done is magnified a lot of the tensions that already existed in communities around policing related matters. There are tough conversations that have to be had about mutual bias. I think all of law enforcement is now committed to having some of these tough conversations, particularly after George Floyd. But as well, the community wants and deserves solutions-oriented leadership. We cannot continue for some people to stand in their corners yelling, "Our lives matter," while other folks stand in different corners yelling, "Our lives matter." We have to come to a table of brotherhood and sisterhood and really find solutions to really fix some of the challenges that we face, both on the community relations side, but as well, and more importantly, on the crime and violence side. We're still dealing with unprecedented crime in big cities and now in small communities with the rise of the opioid epidemic and all those kind of things. But law enforcement can't do this alone. You really need the help of people in local communities, and the best way to get to those people who are focused on solutions and not just pointing the fingers is utilizing the faith-based community in your local areas to do it. So in terms of how to get involved, these are the things that we think every sheriff's office in the United States of America, but every sheriff in Kansas can do immediately to start getting involved in National Faith and Blue Weekend. Number one, we ask you to publicly announce your participation. Utilize your website, your social media platforms to announce National Faith and Blue Weekend and use the hashtag Faith and Blue. Number three, we ask you to designate a coordinator in your agency, a point of contact that will work to get your community involved, get your faith-based community involved, work to outreach to the community, and plan the activities with your local houses of worship around Faith and Blue Weekend. Number four, we ask you, every sheriff, to notify all the houses of worship in your jurisdiction of the weekend and encourage those houses of worship to get involved. We have a draft letter that we will send to each one of you that can come from the sheriff. You can personalize it and send it to the faith-based organizations in your local community, and that will give them a notice about what National Faith and Blue Weekend and give them the opportunity to connect with you and collaborate with you. So we have that draft letter. We will provide it to each one of you after today's call, along with this presentation and the one-pager, so that you can begin organizing in your local jurisdictions. We, number five, ask you to plan as many events as possible with at least one event per zone, precinct, or area of under your purview with a local house of worship. Again, we ask you not to just focus on one big event, but the idea is to penetrate through and do at least a couple of events in different areas so that people in your local communities can really get involved in their local neighborhoods and meet the patrol officers and the deputies that work in their local communities and throughout the county. Number six, we ask you to please make sure to register all of your events and activities and outreach at faithandblue.org so we're able to keep up with what you're doing and post those on the website so that people throughout Kansas can see what is happening and what the sheriffs are doing in their local communities. And number seven, and finally, we ask you to please post a video message from the sheriff, from yourself, that will go on your website, on your social media platforms, that talks about the positive engagement that is happening through National Faith and Blue Weekend. So these are the things that we would ask you to do. We have some resources, again, that's going to help you. We're going to send you an electronic email version of the toolkit. We're going to send you a draft letter that you can circulate, that you can personalize and send it to the faith communities in your local areas. We're going to send you the one pager, and we're going to send you this deck. So we'll provide all of those things to you. At the end of the day, we may have to get them to Sandy, and he sends them out to the rest of you all on the call, but we want to make sure to get those resources to you. We've really tried to create a streamlined turnkey process so that each one of the sheriffs in Kansas doesn't have to do a lot of work. We've tried to do all the work for you. Now I want to answer any questions and get some feedback from you. We've tried to hold you. We promised that we would keep these calls to 45 minutes, and we want to do that. So we've tried to give you a comprehensive overview. We want to know what it is that we can do to be helpful as you plan. We want to know your feedback. We want to know how you feel about it. And so I want to take any questions that you might have. If you've got some questions, I'm going to open the lines up. We want to hear from you all. But first, I want to get the feedback from Executive Director Horton. And I see that the president of the Kansas Sheriff's Association, Sheriff Presley, is on the line. Sheriff, we'd love to hear from you after we hear from Sandy. And then, you know, I want to answer any questions you might have and get any feedback. What can we do to make this better? What can we do to get other sheriffs across Kansas involved? And so, Sandy, love to hear from you.
Well, I hope the sheriffs on the meeting today appreciate this project and the magnitude of it and the work that's already been put in and involved in this. This is endorsed by the Kansas Sheriff Association with the blessing of Sheriff Presley, our president, and we certainly encourage you to participate. One of the things I wanted to say, as far as my thoughts on National Faith and Blue Weekend, we had in our county a ministerial alliance, and it would be just as simple as me placing a phone call to the president of the alliance for that particular year and asking to set up a meeting with the ministerial alliance. It would cover 90% of the churches in the county. So that may be a resource that's not mentioned that you might think about, is how do you get to the faith-based community? That might be something for you to think about. Also, Reverend, will this call be recorded that I could forward this out to those that were not able to participate today?
Yes, sir. We are recording this call.
Can we share that, today's
Yes.
presentation?
Yeah, we'll share today's presentation. We'll send a link with today's presentation. It'll also, again, have the toolkit. It'll have the draft letter. We will record. We've recorded all those things, so we'll send it in a single link that you'll be able to share out with all the sheriffs across the state. And to your point, the sample letter that we have provided that the sheriffs can simply download or tailor or personalize is a resource that can be sent to members of the Ministerial Alliance as well. And we've structured the letter with that in mind. Sheriff Presley, what are your thoughts and what do you think, and how can we make sure that we get the sheriffs across Kansas engaged and get events planned and their outreach going?
So I think Sandy hit it on the head for so many rural county sheriffs that reaching out through the Ministerial Alliance might be one of the best ways to help get that done, if the sheriff will reach out to their Ministerial Alliance. For so many of us that are small, we have a solid understanding that we're not functional without community cooperation in any avenue of any business that we try to conduct. Sometimes in small communities like mine, a Ministerial Alliance type event where all of the churches come together to host one event might be more successful than trying to reach to one church instead. But looking at the platform that you've built, you know, I come from one of the smallest counties in Kansas. I see this as a plus and a benefit for my own office, and I'm sure that even folks like Sheriff Ash in Kansas City see this as something that could be beneficial to his agency as well. So I'm excited about this program, and I'm interested to see what the take rate statewide looks like, not just the take rate, but after the event, how we'd be able to hear from sheriffs and what their relationships in their community change or become based on it.
And I'm glad that you pointed that out, Sheriff, because one of the things that we're doing is we are creating a movement. So this is not just going to be a one and done. First of all, National Faith and Blue Weekend is going to be an annual event, number one. And secondly, we're going to continue with quarterly days of engagement. So when we get this repository of information, we're going to reach out to those houses of worship that are placing events on the calendar. We're going to encourage them and provide resources for them to continue to collaborate with the law enforcement professionals in their local communities. So again, we're building a movement here, and I think I really, and I'd love to hear from Sheriff Ash as well. What this is really unprecedented. I mean, it's just, it really is, it almost gives me chills, quite frankly, Sheriff Presley, to think about that in a very short time frame, we've been able to get literally all of the law enforcement groups on board, involved, and because I think our nation really, really needs this, and there's nobody that can carry this message forward like the sheriffs. I mean, because of the unique nature of the work you do, you're elected by the people, you have an enormous capacity to really make a difference, and that's why we think that the sheriffs in Kansas are so important. Sheriff Ash, what are your thoughts?
Well, I echo everything that everyone has said here. Yes, I echo everything that everyone has said here. We have a couple of ministerial alliances, even though we're an urban area, because we are so densely populated. There are a number of different ministerial alliances here that we would be able to work through. The mayor has started a task force on community and police relations. We've been up and running for the last 6 weeks or so, and actually I've been working with some of the people from some of the churches. Some of the pastors are serving on the task force, and the Black Ministerial Alliance, Baptist ministers here, they presented to the task force. So we are primed and ready for this, and you have given us all of the structure and organization and everything that we need. This is wonderful, and it's very doable.
Thank you very much, Sheriff. And I want to mention that one of the things that we've seen happen in other jurisdictions across the country, where a sheriff's office or police department, for example, in the Atlanta Police Department, they're doing many activities on Saturday, some of the smaller activities that are in the TOOLKIT on Saturday, on a Friday and Saturday, and then they're doing a big event on Sunday that is going to be socially distanced, but there'll probably be thousands of people that are involved in the Sunday event, and then they're doing something smaller on Monday. So over the course of the weekend, you know, the sheriffs can plan out you know, whatever activities and do whatever it is that you want to. We just ask you to make sure that you let us know through faithandblue.org so we can catalog those things, we can put them on the web portal and make sure that people in your local communities can see it. Again, we will provide after today's meeting. Is there any other sheriff that has any feedback? We'd love to hear. I see Sheriff Carr. Sheriff Carr, what are your thoughts? I see Sheriff Colt. Would love to know your thoughts, Sheriff Carr.
Well, I'd like to thank Sandy. Just coincidence, Tuesday, when Sandy brought this to our attention at the district meeting, I made it back to the office, and I'd actually had a member of a local community church reach out to me about putting something together, so the timing was impeccable. I put them in touch with the website. I have the printout. I submitted one myself Tuesday, so we're in plans on it already. I'm like the smaller counties. We're large, but we're small out in western Kansas. But I've got 12 different communities. So, but there is a nice ministerial alliance group set up here. They meet at least twice a day or twice a week at a local restaurant for Bible study. And I've got several members on the suicide prevention coalition we have here in the county. So I think it's what we can do. truly, I've enjoyed the presentation, and I love the handout. The rest of the sheriffs, if you haven't got one, the planning toolkit, as Reverend Merkel has discussed, it's pretty detailed, pretty simple oriented. So just kind of excited to get moving forward with this.
Thank you. Sheriff Cope?
Oh, welcome everybody. I'm sorry my morning went downhill, and I just tuned in late here in the last 10 minutes. So, Reverend, I like Bill Carr. I've reviewed what Sandy sent out there last week before, and had this on my calendar because it definitely is spot on, I think, of what you're trying to do, and we will try to get it rolling. I don't know if we'll be there by October 9th, but we can, that's very good inspiration, and I appreciate your efforts and what you're trying to do. So.
Thank you very much. And if there are any other questions, we'd love to answer any questions. You can put them in the chat. I see, is that Sheriff Tyrell? There you are.
I'm the undersheriff. Sheriff had to attend a commission meeting, so he asked me to fill in. I just want to thank you for all that you've done to put this together. Looks like you've made it as streamlined as possible. All the resources you've put together in a short order time, and we look forward to participating. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sandy, I'll turn it back over to you and to close us out. We're right at 45 minutes past the hour, so I'll turn it over to you, and we will get all of you the resources that we committed to. We'll get you that draft letter that you can send to the houses of worship in your area and the ministerial alliances. We'll get you an electronic copy of the toolkit. We'll get you this video presentation that will include the deck and everything else that we have that can make your organizing much more simple.
Thank you, Reverend. The sheriffs that have attended, I want you to know I personally appreciate that. As you know, I've personally been promoting this since I first learned of it, and because I'm just so impressed with what this entire event could accomplish for all of our communities. I would ask you, kind of challenge the sheriffs on the line to help promote this. Obviously, we don't have every sheriff participating in the Zoom meeting today. We are getting the word out, but as I start sending information out, jump in there if you don't mind, and support the association with your comments and encouragement for fellow sheriffs in Kansas to seriously consider participating. That would be a great help coming from you as a sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Horton. And I want to echo that, and it would help if you utilize your social media platforms. I think many of you, I know that Sheriff Ash has a significant following on his social media platforms. So if you all would Facebook and tweet and just talk about National Faith in Blue Weekend and that your agencies are involved, that would help, I think, to get the word out to the community at large. But it would also help to create, again, momentum and let the nation know that Kansas is going to be present and accounted for. Thank you so much, sheriffs, and thank you again, Sheriff Horton, for hosting us. I just pray for the strength and safety of each one of your officers and bid you all Godspeed. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.